Thank you so much. Our next session was primarily designed for new investors, and I don't know the actual number yet, and we'll know by the end of the day, but I think we had around 70 or 80 new investors booked for the show this year, which kind of points towards the buoyancy of the industry as much as anything. But of course, one of the things that those people want to know is, where should I buy? What should I buy? How do I get the cash? All the usual questions that you go through in your mind when you're looking to start a new enterprise. So Rory's being mic'd up now, and he'll come forward in just a few seconds. Rory from Car Wash Sales Australia is not only talk to you about his experience in setting people up, new investors up into the industry, but also a few pointers, if you like, towards how you go about financing these dreams that you have. So Rory, please come ahead, and I've just got to duck downstairs for a few seconds. So if anything goes wrong,
it will. Don't go too far. Don't go too far. Firstly, thanks to Aqua for giving me the opportunity to jump up here this morning. I want to say I think it's a hatchet job having to follow Marcus. I'm not sure that is a career that could potentially be a career limiting move, but we'll give it a go. Who are Car Wash Sales and Advisory? So we are car wash experts, car wash real estate, car wash businesses. That's where we spend our day. We don't do anything else. We don't touch any other asset class, any other business class. We speak to owners, buyers, developers, suppliers. That's to some extent we breathe in the chemicals, which probably not. It's probably not the smartest move on some sites that we go to, but we're getting there. And why are we here? One thing, we're also owners in the space. So I feel like it's always easier to sell something that you believe in, and what better way to take some skin in the game so we can give new investors an easier path to understanding, things like what we did wrong, what we learnt, who can help you, and the research that you have to do to give yourself the best position or the best chance at success. And why are we here? We're here because I feel there's a really great opportunity in the space. We're here to grow the pie for everyone in the room. So we are striving to be trusted advisors in the car wash space, which is a tough ask. Being a real estate agent, not only does no one like you, they certainly don't trust you. The other thing is we're nationally licensed around Australia. So we are the only group that is legally allowed to represent you across the country. And we feel that that's really important. My personal car wash journey, some of you are probably not aware of this, but it started around 20 odd years ago. At the time I was a couple of years out of school, in university. I was playing professional sport. My brother and I decided I had a bit of spare time, and we decided to look to invest. And my brother knew someone in the car wash industry. I was based in Melbourne. My brother was based in Brisbane, and we knew one person in the car wash industry. So we thought it was a really good idea to option up a block of land in Bowen. Now, Bowen's the north end of Australia. I was in Melbourne, my brother was in Brisbane. So we got that part incredibly wrong. But we were having a go. So we flew up to Bowen. We met the real estate agent. He was a lovely guy, very trustworthy. And we spent a day or two on site. We came back to Melbourne. We met with an equipment supplier, the only one that we could find on the internet. And then we looked at some numbers, the feasibility. Not only did we work out we had no idea, we also had no money. So subsequently the option lapsed, and that dream was buried. And then fast forward 2 decades later, again, we're looking for an investment. It was in COVID. Some of you in Australia who don't live in Melbourne probably don't know what COVID is, but it was a pretty dark time with a lot of time for thinking. So we went looked for some other investment opportunities, found our way back to the car wash space, and then 2 years ago I sat in the same room trying to educate myself about the market as much as I can, because nobody's an expert at everything. At the time, I was doing something different, still corporate real estate, but I didn't know anything about the car wash space. So from that process, we ended up buying a site, fully refurbishing a site. We've only recently reopened it. But part of that process was also identifying a gap in the investment space, but also in the agency space, the role of the trusted advisor. So we subsequently took over a sales business. We rebranded it. Again, we did our due diligence, spoke to the market, worked out what people liked about that offering in the market, what they didn't like, and we've strategically positioned our brand to become the trusted advisor, where we can add value. If we're not adding value, don't pay us. We will never ask. And that gets me to why the time is now, because 20 years has gone and it hasn't changed too much. The opportunity still exists. As most of you would have heard, there's different types of car washing, and I won't educate anyone in the room because I'll be the least educated here. But we had a tour of Sydney the other day. We touched each one, but hand car washing, that's what I consider a proper car wash, where you get the inside outside done. It's a bit of a more relaxing experience. And at the moment, I think according to the Aqua study, that represents about 16 or 17% of usage with the research they've done. I think it's slightly up from the 5 years ago. The middle one, which is easily the most popular in Australia, it's the manual bays and the in-bay automatics or rollover model. It's good margins, highly profitable if they're done well. It's very familiar for the consumer. Again, according to the study, the manual bays, the usage was down 5% from 5 years ago, and a slight increase in the rollover and in-bay automatic market. And then we've got the tunnel model, the express, the flex service, a real convenience-based model that's sort of talking to people who are in a rush, who want something familiar. So the investment thesis around car washing, I think it's really obvious, and it's probably one of the bottom points, but just if we think about the thematic about the space and we compare it to other sectors that have gone through the same transition, it's a cottage industry, it's fragmented, there hasn't been any real consolidation. So again, with investing, you're always looking for a gap. Outside of the fuel market, and as we know, if it's non-core to your business, you're never going to do it as well as someone else. So whilst the fuel guys have got great sites, great locations, until it becomes a core part of their business, they will never do it as well as an independent. It's growing and popular. I know our business, we took over the business with just under 3,000 investors on our database. We're now, I think, plus 6,000. So we've had to stop advertising because there's only so much time in the day. But car washing, again, as a business model, there's reduced staff. There's no debtors. You get paid when they leave or when they're on site, and there's no perishable goods. And we believe there's significant growth prospects as an investable space. We get approached regularly by people wanting to buy 5, 10, 15, 20, looking to buy a platform. But they don't exist at the moment. So there's an opportunity for the next 10 years for people to consolidate, bring platforms together and take advantage. And people invest to make money. I think the risk-adjusted returns are as good as any investment sector that I've seen, which is why we're here. We're here to grow the pie, to make everyone in the room more money, basically. But it's not a passive asset. It's hard work. As my wife will attest, I sat bolt upright in bed this morning at 3 a.m. wondering if we've got chemicals in our plant room because my attendant hurt his back yesterday. So there's moving parts, there's people. It is different. It's not just a set and forget asset. But it's a retail business. That was my biggest adjustment, is understanding that car washing is not a service anymore. It's a retail business. There's a fight for the consumer dollar out there. So you have to be providing a retail business with an experience for your customer. They're kind of the three things. It's retail, it's an experience, and don't forget your customer because they pay your bills. So these are sort of what we call the ingredients for success. And unfortunately, there's nothing here that you can learn from me that you haven't heard if you've been paying attention in the presentation so far, or if you've been doing your due diligence on the industry. Your analysis of traffic patterns, understanding your traffic direction. Is it go home traffic or is it go to work? Which means it's commuter traffic or local traffic. So think about your offering. Think about your time, your speed to market, how quickly you can get people on and off your site. how many cars go past the site each day. If you know that, then you could forecast you can forecast your numbers based on how many people you need to drag off that road to get into your site and what your average spend will be. Understand your road speed. Anything sort of above 80 kilometres makes it really difficult for people to have time to stop and slow down and enter the site. I've spoken today a few times about gaps in any market. It's physical gaps, it's also positioning of what you're offering. So look at underserviced areas, look at competition gaps. Then, as I said, on site, what are the service offerings? If your only leverage is your price, it becomes a race to the bottom. I live in Melbourne, reluctantly. It's got good coffee, but that's about where it stops. We live in Melbourne and the pricing in Melbourne is too cheap. Land tax is up, everything else is up. We've had this high inflationary pressure, increased cost of living, interest rate pressures. There has been an opportunity to pass on those costs to your customer. It's headless that it's become a race to the bottom. I think the reality is if your only leverage is price, you may very well have a long career in car washing at your site, and you may have low margins, or you may also have a long career in car washing at the traffic lights with a squeegee and a bottle and juggling in between. I think you've really got to think about your point of difference. Look to the growth areas where the population's going to be. It's the cheapest land and there's people going there. And then when we actually take a deeper dive in those markets, understand your competitors, understand your point of difference, understand what type of equipment they do, how old it is, what kind of quality, how reliable is it staffed, is it unstaffed, how clean is it, what's their pricing, because you can't make an informed investment decision until you know what's going on in your own backyard. And then again, we heard Marcus talk about 25,000 people in your catchment, things like that. Demographics, there's a whole bunch of data out there that sits there that they're your KPIs. If you understand that data, you can make an informed investment decision. So understanding your customers. With our business, we've got a GSI type system. It has got a name, but so we use that. We do demographics analysis. We'll do a drive time analysis. So our research says that convenience retail customers will drive 7.5 minutes to make a convenience purchase. And then we look at that drive time analysis with how many people, how many registered cars, how many homes, and then we also do a comparison in a metropolitan location of a 3-kilometre catchment. How many people are in that catchment? How many cars are driving past? And then we overlay that again with the CEFA index, which is a measure of affluence. How advantaged or disadvantaged is that market? And then once you know that data, you can then understand your business and what you're trying to produce. So we as a business, we're building a framework. It's a very slow process. It's a significant investment in time and money for our business, but it's one that we feel will allow our customers and the people who trust us to do work for them and with them. We feel this can allow you to make data-led investment decisions. And we've got a bit of a working draft here. We're a team of 4. We've engaged 2 consultants who are retail network planners to help us with this work, and we're in the early stages. We're hoping to finish it by the end of this year. But essentially, we've input all the data, we've got all the car wash locations around Australia, and we've done our analysis on each of the sites. And we're dragging it back so we can essentially compare data, compare locations. So we will be able to look at your site or look at a development site that you're thinking, hey, will this work for a car wash? And then we can scrape the raw ingredients and present them in a dashboard fashion so you can make a really quick and considered investment decision. But not just you, it's also the bank, the valuers, all the other key people that are involved in any investment decision. We need to make everyone's job easier. And the only way you can do that is with data because, as I said before, no one trusts a real estate agent. So we're going to hide behind our data. And then we're going to scrape it with all the information that we already have. We're going to overlay that with a breakdown, or we're in the process of breaking down and benchmarking all the profit and loss statements. Every bit of data that we have, we're going to break that down and benchmark so we can, again, understand, we can review a profit and loss a lot quicker. We can understand where there's gaps in your business. We can understand when we're positioning something to sell, what the opportunities for the new buyers are. And again, it's all leading to making a data-led investment decision. So this is a site, again, the template's not finished, but this gives you an idea. This was a car wash in Werribee in Western Melbourne that we sold last year. We sold it off market. At the time, there was 3 parties who approached the vendor. They'd all made offers, and the vendor asked for a meeting. We caught up, and the parties were at $3.3 to $3.4 million. And we were confident that we could get him more, but we didn't think there was much more in it. So we already had competitive tension, which is what you need in any campaign, but we had no data. All we had was the trust me, mate sort of factor. I refer to that in the industry as just trust me. You'll hear it out on the trade show floor from all the equipment suppliers. They're only one rung above us, real estate agents. So that's a joke, obviously. There's some good supporters of our business, but again, this is a hatchet job. So we were going, at that stage, we only had the raw data, but we were able to compare the site with the raw data with the 5 comparable locations based on those key ingredients. And we were able to present that to the buyer and also to his funder. In the end, we ended up selling that one for $4 million. So there was a $700,000 arbitrage in value just by using that data and maximising the value. That price was confidential too, by the way, so please don't repeat it. So site profitability, you know, when you get to an investment decision, what's on the end of it? What are you going to get for your hard work? So this, again, some really high-level notes here, but these are the physical piece that you need to consider. So this is a site in Turramurra that we are selling, so northwestern Sydney. Again, location, location, location. Car washing is a real estate-led decision, and it's only becoming more so going forward. There's a race for land. Land cost is high. We've got high interest rates. Every piece of land is now being scrutinised about what's the highest and best use of that land. And the reality is, unless car washers can start generating more revenue and really working on their businesses, it's going to keep being pushed down the back of the block. We will see co-location on site. You will be a smaller piece of a bigger pie. It's really difficult to go and buy 1,000, 1,500 square metres anywhere around Australia now. It's easier to be co-located on a site with complementary businesses. High traffic areas. So this is a Category 7 road, 60,000 plus cars passed it a day. Visibility. I would have liked the owner to spend a bit of money on some signage. However, that's the value add for the new buyer. So it's a visible site, corner site, 3-way traffic intersection, good access in and out. It's easy to get to. Amenity. There's a Coles shopping centre just at the back of the site. So people are going to this location. They might be going to the supermarket. They'll drive past the car wash and they'll go, oh, I might wash my car. I've got 5 minutes. However, as I said, it's getting harder with pressure for land users. So you need to think about what you're building. You can't build today what you built yesterday. The reality is you have to drive the value of each square metre of your site harder. The competition piece. So this is a bit of a snapshot of, where are we? Inner east of Melbourne. They're all the car wash locations inner east of Melbourne. They could be standalone independents. They could be tunnels. We have got some other ways to highlight those different types of models. And they could be single rollovers at self-service station sites. So it's really easy to see something graphically. You can see physical gaps when you're looking at stuff visually, and then we take that and then we overlay it with all the data. Again, I'll put my hand up for the most obvious statement you'll hear this week. The best performers have the least competition. That's really simple. There's always going to be competition no matter what industry you're in. How much is too much? Well, Marcus is probably better placed to talk about that with some of the saturation in some of the markets of the States. But again, it's understanding what's good competition, what's bad competition, and where do you fit within that space. Again, sometimes you can only, well, more often than not, you can only control the controllables. So focus on what you're doing. Focus on the retail elements, providing experiences for your customers. Understand your weather patterns, so you can make assumptions about forecasts. Every time we see an owner who has had a bad 6 months, it's because it's rained. Prove it. That's what we need to do to the buyers. We need to be able to show them that, look, it was above average rainfall for the last 2 quarters. And then we can compare it. And then we can overlay that with how many cars are coming to site. Until you know the data, you can't make an informed decision. As I touched before, customers are time poor. Everyone in the room is eager to get out of here, stop hearing me speak so they can get out on the trade floor. The reality is we don't have much time. Our time is valuable, so we have to get them on, get them off, and give them a scratch on the back on the way out so they feel loved, they feel like they've had a good experience. So you have to focus on your traffic flow, being aware of your environment so you can make an easy, convenience-based purchase for customers. Now this is, that's our site, our brand on the right-hand side of the page. Now this is an area that I'm hopeless at. However, as Marcus said, with his team, he's put together an expert team. We've brought experts into our business to deliver the best outcome for us with our branding. Whatever it is, whether it's CWSA, whether it's a car wash, whether it's Washco, we were really strategic about what we're trying to do. You only have one shot at a first impression. Your brand is the visual representation that you have of the dollars that come into your site, what your attendant's wearing, how he or she is dressed, how they represent themselves. Is the site clean? Can people read the signage? It's definitely worth the investment. Like, please, engage an expert. You'll hear me say that regularly from now on, but engage an expert, as Marcus did in his business. He's got 140 odd sites growing to 500. He knows enough, I reckon, but he's still going to the market to get people who are experts in their field. I mean, our location, for example, with the work that Sally did, who works for our business, it's 37% Islamic population. I don't know what that means. I know they're lovely people and they support our business, but I don't know if our branding's going to offend their religion, offend their culture. We have a very mixed race community in our suburb. We need to be able to position the brand so we're giving ourselves the best opportunity to not offend, to make people feel welcome. We need to be able to see the signage. You need to be able to identify it. As I've talked about today, there's pressure on land value in Australia for car wash operators. So we're going to keep getting pushed down the back. People are going to have to know you're there. Whether it's presence on site, presence on social media, websites. I mean, get a website, but please don't develop it yourself. And please don't design it yourself. People need to be able to find you. Now, I've got to tread very carefully with this next point. But the biggest influencing factor is the operator. Again, what retail experience are you giving the customer? How much are you invested into the business? And I've got to say, Marcus started as a 16-year-old and he's achieved an incredible lot in 15 years. It's, for someone as passionate as he is in this space, I think he's drinking the chemicals for what it's worth. But, you have to love your business because you have to love your people, because without them, again, you can't do everything. So how clean is your site? Does your equipment work regularly? Depreciation is a cost. It's not a saving. It's a cost. Reinvest back into your business, back into your equipment. And something I get accused of not being, friendly. I get told by some people in my team that I'm a grumpy old man. If you're a grumpy old man, come and see us. We're in a booth down on the floor and we'll sell your car wash. Or a grumpy old woman, we'll sell your car wash. Because it's too hard. You need the people to embrace you and embrace your brand. And then influencing factors. How much you pay to get into the site. Understand your entry costs. Understand your feasibility. Do a feasibility. If you don't know what it is, come speak to our business. We'll help you. Understand land acquisition costs, leasing costs, construction costs and setup costs. So you don't go too heavy and too all in where you're always chasing. You've got to get the balance right between what you build and what's going to make you money. And once you've done all of that, and hopefully our business has helped you do that, then you can benchmark everything you need so you can understand and understand where your returns might be, whether it's a leasehold or a freehold. You can't do that, and you can't get to the end until you go through all the hard work at the start. So again, now we're going to talk to new people trying to enter into the industry, what's important, how to position yourself best to be the winner, and we're also going to touch on some advice for the vendors, but I'll tread carefully there too. So how do you get the best deal? Firstly, you've got to understand the market. Understand what car washers are selling for. Don't compare them to another industry, another business. And you know, if you've got a broker who's selling a car wash one day, a cafe the next, a gym the next, a retail business the next, they're probably not best placed to give you the actual on-the-ground data. We do a lot of buy-side engagements where we like to work for buyers trying to buy something cheap when they've got it with another agent. I feel like we can represent incredible value that way. Understand replacement costs. Now, for me, who has a property background, I know that without the land, you can't do anything. You can fix a business. And if you've got the demographics and you've got the people and you've got all the other ingredients, you can fix the business, but you can't change the land. So understand what the replacement costs are and be bullish on that. If you think you can fix the business, the land doesn't change. You get to own it. You get to control your own destiny. Understand your financial capabilities. And Tom Rockcliffe is going to join me on stage shortly from Commercial Point Finance. Be financially organised. If you want to buy something, you have to make it really simple for us simple real estate agents to be able to go to our vendor and say, here's a guy or a girl, they're organised, they've got their finance in order, their terms are good, their price is good. It's the bird in the hand theory. Now, we're confident that we can educate the market, so we're only negotiating on the best price, because if you want to buy a car wash going forward, it is competitive. And I've seen it after watching the space for the last 2 or 3 years, listing a car wash at a price, and then 2 days later it's sold. It's fascinating to me because you've left all these other people, you've missed that opportunity to drive that price higher. So if you're organised, you still have the best chance of being successful. And again, I don't have to talk too much to this because Marcus, who is a global expert, a global leader in the space, he's doing it. He's engaging a due diligence team, an expert team of advisors and consultants who do that certain thing for a living. He's engaging them to help deliver him the best outcome. So get a lawyer, not a conveyancer, no disrespect to them, but get a lawyer, get a solicitor who is qualified, who is capable, who can cut through the tape and get you the outcome quicker without taking any unnecessary risks. Get someone who can advise you, not take orders. Be financially organised, as Tom will touch on. Get your back of house in order. Understand the physical elements about what you're buying. Is it safe? Does it meet OH&S requirements? Is the building going to fall over in 2 years' time? And environmental. Understand what's going on site so you don't have to take any unnecessary risks going forward. This is going to be a critical piece as this market gets bigger and different pots of capital come into this space. They will be all over this environmental piece. They won't want to touch a site that has questionable operations on site with dangerous goods. You have to understand the risks and mitigate against them. And again, when you're buying something, think about how you're going to sell it. So think about your structuring. If you're buying a business and property, have 2 separate entities. Have an opco and a propco where you've got high liquidity. You can sell one, sell the other, sell both. And if you're looking to do that, I do know someone in the space who is an expert who can help you with that. So understand about getting advice and understand how you can get out of that investment at the best possible price. And in order to do that, you have to take the thinking out of it for the buyers. Again, flipping to the vendor side, people who are thinking about selling. So obviously, some decisions are made really quickly for different reasons, but most people in the room who are thinking about selling, they've always got a plan in mind. It might be 1 or 2 years in advance. So be organised, be prepared, have your data ready so you can supply it to whoever you appoint to help you. You can supply them what they need to position your business accordingly to maximise value. Again, work with an expert to identify ways to enhance your side appeal. Again, it's that same theory. You only have one shot at a first impression. So if you're trying to sell something, and if I put myself in the buyer's head and I'm roll up to whatever it is that I'm trying to buy, and I know it's not looked after, I know the equipment's not working properly, I know the site attendant doesn't want to see you, I know that that's a great buying opportunity because there's money left on the table. So spend some time understanding how you can position your business or your property for sale and maximise that small investment on your exit. Be realistically optimistic in your expectations. Push the boundary on price, but not so far that you push it off the cliff because that's just unreasonable. And we will say no. We are happy to work with everyone, but we also want people to understand the outcome is all about the process. The price will be the price. Our job is to cover the market and deliver you competitive tension so we can drive price. And in order for us to drive price, we only want to be negotiating on price. We want the buyers to be able to come in, look at your data and understand your business and understand where they can add value to that business so they can wind their price up as much as possible. We don't want them making assumptions about one or two line items on the P&L that relate to a family holiday, but they're in as repairs and maintenance. I think those days are done. If you're taking things out of your business, I have a saying, if you steal it, I can't sell it. It's impossible. Understand your enterprise value when you go to exit. If you're taking, I'm not saying it happens. I'm not saying it happens at all, but if there was an example where there was a car wash operator who was taking cash out of his business, if there was, you're getting a 4 to 6 to 7 times return on that multiple when you go to exit. You're leaving money on the table by taking some beer money out. It's crazy. Have different ways and different valuation techniques. Gone are the days where it's the multiple's that. They're gone. I'm sorry, but we've got to get beyond that to grow the space. We have to have multiple ways that you can look at a car wash to understand how you can interpret value. And an effective sales strategy, it's risk mitigation and price maximisation. We want investors to be able to make a decision on how much they're willing to spend. We want that to be their only uncomfortable decision, is pushing the boundary on price. So I'm going to ask Tom Rockcliffe to come up to stage now. So Tom's from Commercial Point Finance. I won't steal his thunder. He'll do a bit of an introduction. But I'm going to quickly touch on these two pylons to the right, leasing and vendor financing. As I touched on, I feel like there's different ways to get into a car wash if that's what you want. I think the days of vendor financing are done unless your father or your mother wants to sell it to you, and if that's the case, they should be passing it on to you and not charging. But I think those days are done. The market's too competitive. If that's your only avenue to buying a car wash, I'd be looking to buddy up with people to pull some capital. Private investors and partnerships. We get asked all the time, do you think that a fund could come in? Do you think a platform could come in and allocate $100, $200 million of car washes? I think they could, not at the moment, but I think they could eventually. But in order to do that, they need to make informed investment decisions. That's a lot of money. No one's going to pass it away and give it to you. So sale and leasebacks, again, that's a real estate play, very popular with the private equity guys. In my previous job, we conducted a whole bunch of sale and leasebacks for corporates, GMH, Honda, Toyota. We divested billions of dollars worth of real estate under that base. It's really simple. A corporate owner, they'll get a better return on the business. They'll trade out of the property at a lower return and then run the business and really wring the neck on the business. So that's an option that is available to people. If they want to explore it, we're happy to have a conversation. Tom, I'm going to throw to you. I'm nearly out of steam. A quick introduction on what you do. Again, Tom's an expert. Right? Tom's a broker. He's here to get people the best opportunity, the best funding in the space, and he spends his days in the car wash market, talking to owners, funders. So Tom is positioned well to give you the best opportunity. But just a quick intro, and then I've got a couple of questions.
Yeah, I've been in the industry for about 2 years now in Commercial Point Finance. Brendan Scott, our director of the company, has been doing it for sort of 13, 14 years. The car wash space is sort of untapped for brokers, so to speak. So the opportunity arose to work with Rory. We've had some great opportunities present themselves so far, but there's different elements to the car wash and the purchase of it. Obviously, whether you're purchasing the business by itself, the land, or you want to upgrade your equipment as well. So there's all different options there. We've got over 40 lenders on our panel that we have access to. So if it's upgrading a laser wash, we've got 40 different lenders that we can go to, get different terms, whether it be a 5-year term. For the commercial side of it, if you're looking to purchase the business and the land, then obviously we shop it around. We collate all the data from you guys. So we get a data dump from you, reach out to you, get all the information that we need. And as Rory said, you need to make sure it's accurate. There's no point skimming money here and there. We had a one recently where the vendor refused to hand over his financials, which made the sale near impossible to complete because he was obviously shifting money in different directions, which makes
allegedly,
which makes it really hard. And the lenders just want to see that return. So they're not going to give out their money if they can't see how the money's going to be paid back. So once we get the data from you, Rory or whatnot, we do the research of the vendor, we work out the numbers, we work out the profit, the loss, the balance sheet, we do the returns over a couple of years, we also do the forecasting, how we can see improvements if we upgrade the machines, how many cars are going to get through there, how much more profit are we going to have, and then we start to forecast moving forward. We present it to the lenders, but in the background, I'll be talking to about 4 or 5 different lenders to work out which one fits best for you individually. So the lender will look at case by case, and as silly as it sounds, no two loan options are going to be exactly the same. The individual is going to be better suited to one lender compared to another. Generally speaking, if it's a metropolitan type area for a loan, we're looking at sort of a 30% deposit, give or take. We may be able to push that up to 25, but loan to value ratio generally sits around that 70%. Rural lenders are a bit more risky on that. Obviously, the traffic's not there compared to being in a major city, so they may look for a 50%. Equipment-wise, it isn't a truck or a car where they can, if you don't make repayments, they can't come and grab it and take it straight back off you. If it's a fixed machine, they see it as a tertiary asset. So you may have to pour in a little bit more money for that. Sometimes it could be a 50%, just depending on exactly what the asset is and what we're purchasing. But we can do everything within that commercial space, whether it be a cash flow loan as well. If you find yourself a little bit short, we certainly don't want to go down that path. We don't really like cash flow lenders at all. They're sort of the bottom rung, and if we can avoid them, we certainly want to do that. But there's options out there aplenty. Whether you want to purchase a car through the business for the car wash or for signage to be exposed, we do the cars for that as well. So our range of options is limitless pretty much within that business space, but each individual situation will be dependent on you and then finding the best lender for you.
And Tom, obviously security plays a big role, but describe your perfect client. What makes your job easy so you can, again, just focus on what you're good at, delivering the best outcome and leveraging the vendors?
Yeah, so for the perfect client, for us, it would be someone who's been in the industry for a period of time, 2+ years. They've got industry experience, they understand how it operates, they're property backed, so they own their house. They've proven over a period of time that they can run a really strong business. They've got cash behind them. That's ideal for us. It makes it, we can fund it if you're not, if you're getting into the industry, but it can be difficult as well. And then what will often happen is the lender will ask for more money and make it a lot more difficult, and we've got a lot more hurdles to jump to try and get you in.
And there's different ways to structure it. You can take shorter term debt. If you think you've got a fixer-upper and you're confident of getting an outcome on that, you might have to take some more juicy or expensive debt for a period of time. Then you take 2 years to get the business set. Then you go back and revalue the business and pull out your equity, and then you're sort of set for a longer term. So I think, again, as I touched on, you need to engage an expert in no matter what you do in life, whether it's car washing or trying to navigate a marriage. But I think it's important for everyone to understand that the space is really exciting. I feel like hearing Marcus talk about where their cycle's at, I saw some press overnight that I think the transactional volumes in the States this year are down 43% compared to this time last year. So I feel like we're at base camp. I feel like they've climbed the peak and they're just having a look around, trying to catch their breath. So I feel like the runway's long and the runway's really healthy. But again, as I touched on the 3 points, it's a retail business. You've got to provide an experience, and don't forget about your customers because they pay your bills. I'm not sure if there's any time for questions, but if there's any questions, again, we can catch up at the booth also if you need, but looks like I've dodged a bullet. Obviously nailed everything there.